Okay, welcome everybody. We're going to continue on with our Watchdog on Wall Street, Markowski Investments Halloween Special. It's like basically every day here is a Halloween special with all the spooky things that are going on. Something happened again last night. Read about it bright and early this morning. You got you had something happen here that normally doesn't happen when you start having part of the elites out there start to push back, if you will, against what's taking place. You know that old from Fight Club, first rule of Fight Club: never talk about Fight Club. Where the first rule of monetary policy elites, central bankers, is you never criticize other central bankers. Never out in the open. Never do that. Yeah, we're starting to see some of that out of the UK, out of the EU. They're basically saying Joseph Borrell, he's High Representative of the EU, lashed out at the Fed. He said that central banks across Europe, where the recession will be far, far worse than the United States, are being forced to follow the Fed's multiple rate rises to prevent their currencies from slumping against the dollar. And he compared what we're doing right now to what Germany used to do with the Deutschmark, and how they could influence other countries in Europe based upon this. The difference was back at that point in time, some of these smaller countries in Europe could actually devalue their currency to make their exports of what they were selling more attractive. And obviously can't do that anymore. Pushback coming, and we're going to continue to see more of this. Europe's really going to get hit bad. They're already in a recession. I'm speaking to some people this morning. There's actual talk. The UK is actually going to be warning their citizens that this winter, if it gets too cold, expect 3-hour blocks a day where you're not going to get any energy. You're not going to have it. They're going to shut down. Rolling blackouts. And I keep thinking of the, that song by the Kinks. Living on a Thin Line or something like that? They used it in The Sopranos. There's No England Now was one of the chorus lines in the sing. And again, let's be honest, it's a disaster of their own doing. And this is part of the problem. They keep going back to trusts and the tax cuts that she has proposed. It's not that. It's energy, man. It's energy. I had look at a story here out of Denmark. People are stealing each other's wood pellets and their wood briquettes as soon as they're delivered. In other places, people are burning trash to stay warm, which again, you don't do that. It can cause all sorts of noxious fumes and things that aren't good. They're running out and they're buying more and more, wood stoves. Basically, some of these forests that were off limits, ancient forests, can't touch them. It's Europe. Not anymore. We need the wood. We're going to need the heat this winter. All just utter stupidity by these elites that people continue to look to. We watched this unfold over, an extended period of time. All the Greta Thunberg nonsense, shutting down the nuclear power facilities, this net zero crap, and supposed conservative governments, Boris Johnson, just nonsense. There's an interview I was watching today. That the UK I didn't realize just the sheer volume of natural gas deposits that they had. They don't bother going after them as well. It's kind of like upstate New York. No, they could be completely self-sufficient when it comes to energy. They've chosen not to. More of the spooky stuff. I know we talked about this yesterday. This liability-driven investing, this Wall Street creation. It's a virus. It's a virus that has affected pension funds all over the globe. And I think there are going to be more moments where you're going to have to see bailouts in other places. Probably. In essence, what the UK central bank has done, it's what central banks do, is they're supposed to be the lender of last resort. And they stepped in, and I know this stuff, I'm trying to make this as, it's a lot of confusion in regards to what's going on. Pension funds, you got to look at you're a pension fund manager. You're a pension fund manager. There was it was a great piece talking about the history of banking and securitization and all sorts of stuff that Ben Hunt from Epsilon Theory wrote. And he also made this kind of funny point. He said, you're a pension fund manager. You're judged based upon what? They talk about performance. Actually, it's more or less, have your liabilities grown over your assets. That's basically it. And he basically equates it to being a big-time college football coach. If you're an SEC football coach, you got a couple years. If you don't win within a couple years, it was great, thank you, pat you on the back, show you the door. It's the same thing holds true with pension fund managers. Now, because of ultra low interest rates, and this is something we've been discussing for years here. I said, the difficulty of being a pension manager because you're not getting really any return on your cash positions, on your, in essence, risk-free positions. What does Wall Street do? Wall Street steps in. We're financial engineers. Here I come to save the day. Liability-driven investments, and they come up with, in essence, is an interest rate swap, if you want to think about it that way, based upon the swap that they are putting together. If your liabilities go up, your assets will go up. And it's vice versa. It's a win-lose type of situation, but Wall Street presented it to all of these pension funds around the globe as risk-free until interest rates went parabolic. Now, explain this yesterday. I'm going to try to get it across again. Many of these investments are made with an extraordinary amount of leverage. Why not? Why not? Wall Street said, sure, come on in, do as much as possible. Look at this. Look at the history of this over the past 20, 30 years. Interest rates won't go cray-cray. That can't happen. No. And you leverage up where you're buying assets, you're paying 10%. Paying 10%. Normally what you would have spent, the 100%, okay, you take that 90% that you didn't spend on that and you invest it somewhere else. So you try to juice up, again, what the assets in your portfolio, so you can go to the board of directors at the end of the year and say, look at me, I'm awesome. And you keep your job and you get a raise. Well, what happens when things go parabolic? And Wall Street calls you up and says, margin call. Yeah, that those they didn't go your way. Pay us. Pay us. Yeah, and this is how Wall Street works with these margin calls. You got to pay up by the end of the day, okay? Which means what? You've got to sell these same assets that are dropping in price that are causing the problem into a market that's selling as well, and selling begets more selling, and it snowballs. You know that scene in Goodfellas? The scene in Goodfellas was explaining about, going into business with Paulie and the restaurant. Problem with this, blank you, pay me. Problem with this, blank you, pay me. That's Wall Street. Blank you, pay me. That's what they had to do. So again, Bank of England steps in, says, hey, here we go. We're going to be the lender of last resort. That's what we're supposed to be. And they're going to have to keep doing that until this thing stabilizes. They today, had to step in again. Yesterday, our bond markets were closed. Theirs were open, and the thing went haywire again. And quite frankly, I don't think it's going to end anytime soon. I'm sure there's going to be some sort of Zoom call soon where they're going to say to the, Jay Powell and the Fed, you guys got to cut this out. Again, this is why I do think that there's going to be, they're finding a way where they can pull back from, what they've been doing. I honestly do believe that. They have no choice. It's either that or just blow stuff up. And if your goal is, just to break stuff and really break stuff, well, we're heading in the right direction. But again, I'm going to have to believe that there's going to be some pushback against that at some point in time. One of the things I'm going to mention Ben Hunt in his piece again, he's very, very critical of the UK government and the tax cut plan that was put forward. Again, a lot of people have talked about it's conventional wisdom. That's the narrative out there. Boy, oh boy, if they didn't put out those tax cuts, boy, oh boy, this would have never happened. Wait a second. They canceled them, and it's still happening. They canceled those tax cuts. They pulled back from all that, and they still have the same problem. Wouldn't have it reversed itself? No, and it's nothing to do. Nothing to do with the tax cuts. It has to do with all of the handouts and giveaways, all the money that you've got to pump into the economy to help people to pay their electric bills, their oil bills, their gas bills. That's the problem. Anyway, I saw this yesterday, and I didn't really know how to tackle it here on the podcast. Ben Bernanke and a couple of his buddies got the Nobel Prize for work that they did back in what? It was like 1980s. 1983, 84. They're just getting Nobel Prize today. And I thought about it today, and I was like the whole Dumb and Dumber moment. So you're saying there's a chance. I say if Ben Bernanke can win a Nobel Prize for work he did back in 83 and 84, and again, it was all based upon trying to figure out how to avoid runs on banks and all sorts of financial crises. This guy missed it completely. It's amazing if you actually think about it. It's funny. There was a piece here. It was the Wall Street Journal. A careless reader of Bernanke's prize-winning work might have seen it as adding a few details to Milton Friedman and Anna Schwartz's 1963 book, A Monetary History of the United States, 1867-1960. In fact, it was quite different. And this is a quote. I would like to say to Milton and Anna regarding the Great Depression, you're right. We did it. We're very sorry. But thanks to you, we won't do it again. This is a Ben Bernanke, member of the Fed's Board of Governors at the time, speaking at Friedman's 90th birthday party in 2002. As we all know, they did it again. just a few years later, 2007 into 2008. And they missed it completely again and again and again. The housing market is strong. Yeah. I whatever. Again, this is a mutual admiration society. Kind of know how this stuff works. All of these theories that they put out there. Ben Bernanke wins a Nobel in theory. And there's other people saying that Ben Bernanke getting the Nobel Prize is panned as the drunkest decision of all time. They all have a point. And like I said, we managed to call all these calamities and panics and whatnot that Greenspan and Bernanke and all these people having. So again, they always talk about their biggest concern being inflation and their dual mandate, inflation and jobs, right? That's their dual mandate, keeping unemployment low, inflation and keeping unemployment low. Guys, do you really believe that? Do you really believe that? The job of the Fed is to what? It's to keep the government going. Going out there and buying bonds when they need to, so to allow the powers that be in Washington, D.C. to continue to spend and spend and spend with no concern over what they're spending, how it's endless supply. The endless supply of money. Wall Street Journal. Again, we talk about insider trading with Congress. It's much bigger than that, and we explained it was much bigger than that. One of the biggest issues I've taken is just the size of the executive branch of government. The executive branch of government has gotten completely out of control. And if you go and you go back and read the Federalist Papers and the things that our founders talked about, this is what we have right now is not what they had in mind. The amount of power that resides within the executive branch of government is obscene. It's not supposed to be this way. We've got all of these agencies out there that act as judge, jury, and executioner. And again, they're the ones that, like I said, they're writing the rules and regulations. They're enforcing the rules. They're the ones that are deciding whether you're guilty or not. And it just keeps growing and growing and growing. And the reality is it actually got much worse, really got put on steroids under George W. Bush after 9/11. And then you expanded with the Patriot Act, a myriad of these different agencies out there and what they do. But anyway, as it turns out, Wall Street Journal found out that, gee whiz, thousands of senior executive branch employees own stocks in companies whose fates were directly affected by their employers' actions. What does that mean? Yeah, they're just bureaucrats. Bureaucrats in Washington, D.C. at these agencies trading stocks, positioning their portfolios where they have, they can influence the price of the stocks based upon what they are doing. More than 2,600 officials at agencies from the Commerce Department to the Treasury Department during both Republican and Democratic administrations disclosed stock investments in companies while those same companies were lobbying their agencies for favorable policies. That amounts to more than 1 in 5 senior federal employees across 50 federal agencies that was reviewed by the Journal. Now, they talk about Republican, Democratic administrations. These people don't get fired. Okay? They are there. They're lifers. Do you understand? They're lifers. Doesn't matter what administration comes in, they're staying. A top official at the Environmental Protection Agency reported purchases of oil and gas stocks. The FDA improperly let an official own dozens of food and drug stocks on their no-buy list. A Defense Department official bought stock in a defense company 5 times before it won new business from the Pentagon. The journal obtained and analyzed more than 31,000 financial disclosure forms for about 12,000 senior career employees, political staff, and presidential appointees. The review spans 2016 through 2021 and includes data on about 850,000 financial assets and more than 315,000 trades. I can go on and on and on. It's a lengthy, lengthy piece in the Wall Street Journal, which is nice because this is what Washington will tell you. Oh, we're gonna increase the disclosure. Again, this stuff is all hiding in plain sight. So what? They disclosed all the stuff. They still did it. Nobody's going to do anything about it. Where they're going to go back, they're going to reverse these trades. They're going to go after these people. Bullshit. Again, this is DC, people. Okay, it's capital city, Hunger Games. This is the type of power they have. Hey, they're talking about some of those areas in and around Washington, D.C. How the wealth in and around D.C. Hey, these are government workers, right? Aren't they supposed to be civil servants? How do they get so rich? No, I get it. Got lobbyists there that are there to push the government in a certain direction, but make big money, obviously. Oh, wow. You mean to tell me I'm going to influence whether or not we know, I'm going to know whether or not a certain company is going to get a certain defense contract and I'm going to go ahead and buy that stock ahead of time? That's freaking inside information. If I was to do that, I'd go to jail. If I was to do that and I get information from time to time, I can't act on it. It's illegal. If I was to do it or put my clients in, I'd go to jail. That's okay. It's okay. You're a member of you're a public servant. No, you serve yourself. I'm trying to kid public servant my ass. Tulsi Gabbard. This is an obvious one. I mean, crying out loud, it was about time. She timed it. I think she's starting a podcast or something today. Leaves the Democratic Party, denounces it as an elitist cabal. She retired from the House in 2021. And I mentioned here on the program, it'd be my dream ticket. I get Rand Paul and Gabbard on the same ticket. And quite honestly, I don't care who's on the top. I just want them on the same ticket. Be thrilled. I mean, I said this conversation this past weekend. I say, Gabbard, the only one in the field, the Democratic field that I could actually vote for last time around, the people that they threw up there. And it was brilliant how she single-handedly just took down Kamala Harris. But again, I mean, she's not going to join the Republican Party. I'm not a member of the Republican Party. And Tulsi, I wouldn't recommend that either. I really wouldn't. She continues to stand up, against all of the warmongering nonsense that this country continues to get into, continues to highlight the plight of veterans out there and how mistreated they are here in this country. Again, every single time I think about the fact you've got members, the higher ups in our military suggesting that our personnel go on food stamps. I mean, are you serious? Amongst other things. I don't agree with her on all of her policies. Some of her economic things I don't agree with. But again, she's reasonable. Okay? She's not a psychopath. Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt talking about ESG investing. Financial companies that boycott the energy industry are pushing anti-American political agendas. I guess there's been about $1 billion pulled out from various different BlackRock funds. Again, BlackRock manages trillions. I mean, they're massive. Massive. So $1 billion to them, it's not that big of a deal. To them is going to have to be much more of a movement when it comes to that. ESG is kind of rewriting how you invest. Instead of focusing on value for your shareholders, it's more of a political agenda. It breaks down the free market principles of capitalism that we're used to in investing, and it's so anti-American. Yep. At some point, there's pushback on it now. There is. There's pushback on this now, and hopefully it continues to gather steam. Yeah, like I said, we got midterm elections coming up here. Again, some of the debates taking place in certain places around the country. And again, I remind everybody this. I don't get involved in local politics that are not mine. I mean, from time to time, I'll discuss a candidate or certain race somewhere, somehow. To me, it's none of my business. None of my business who the people in Ohio decide to vote for. I don't live there. I don't live there. I mean, I may want a certain candidate for whatever reason it may be, and be for bigger political reasons, but it's up to those people to choose that. And again, this is where I think we could get some real changes when it comes to campaign finance. You should not be allowed to give to any candidate unless you can vote for that candidate. And I'm talking through various different, PACs, whatever it may be. If it's a PAC, it better be a local PAC. It's got to prove that the money came locally. All of this stuff. Politics should be, first of all, local. If you can vote for a candidate, fine. You can vote for a candidate. Guess what? You can give to that candidate. If you can't vote for that candidate, that's it. Hey, the one national, election we should have the president. Each of these states should be operating differently. That's what the founders wanted. That's what the 10th Amendment is all about. Anyway, more missile strikes all over the Ukraine. We're seeing the pictures coming out of this, and like clockwork, calls for more stuff. United States sending more stuff, more missile defense systems to the Ukraine, and we have to speed it up and sending more aid and all of this. I think everything now should be geared toward, you just need to de-escalate this. I don't think anybody fully understands just how many missiles Russia has. And, if they really wanted to, they talk about how hell this is right now. If they really wanted to unleash hell, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. What is the ultimate ends here? You're going to just flatten the country? Okay. Send more missile defense systems in there. They won't, I guess they won't send Patriot missile defense systems because they think that that's a bit of an escalation. But and I don't know. Russia fired 84 missiles, 43 were intercepted, and they landed in various different cities. This attrition is going to go on. The way things are set there, I don't see at this point in time that they've mentioned it, talking about the use of tactical nuclear weapons, simply because the wind blows the wrong way. Could blow back, and the fallout can blow right back onto Russia-occupied areas, Russia itself. So I don't know if that's going to be the case, but this ground and pound, I guess, is going to continue until again, we get some sort of negotiated settlement when it comes to this. Anyway, have a good one, everybody. I know a lot of spooky stuff. Okay. There's a lot of spooky things going on. How do you handle? I know people getting spooked. How do I handle this with my portfolio? Again, like I've said before, I get lack of a better phrase. Okay. When you're in the midst of, hell, you just keep going. Okay. If you've set your portfolio up properly, own high quality companies. We talked about account repair earlier on this year. Many of the people out there need to reevaluate some of the high flying tech stuff that they had on, and whether or not these companies were going to be able to survive, and whether or not they were going to go back to the valuations that they had before, making those adjustments, making sure that you've got companies in your portfolio that, let's say that there is a hard landing, a difficult recession here in the United States. Dividend-based companies that pay you to own them, eventually you'll get out on the other side. Doesn't feel good right now. Doesn't feel good for anybody. Again, this is the reality of the terrain. Don't do stupid stuff. You need help, give us a call, get in contact with us. WatchdogOnWallStreet.com, WatchdogOnWallStreet.com. We'll see you.